ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930 present The Drive. Brought to you by Huntington Federal Savings Bank. Local then, local now. Member FDIC.
It is Wednesday, December 18th. Your drive begins now on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. You can join the program this hour by calling us on the Miller Lite phone lines at 877-420-TALK. That is 877-420-8255. Miller Lite, hold true, great taste, only 96 calories. It is the original light beer. Our text lines are open, 304-399-8255. That is 304-399-8255. So we got a lot to get into today. Doc Holliday earlier this afternoon talking about his 15 early signees. The 2020 football recruiting class has swollen, and we'll talk about that today, as well as we're going to talk a little bit about the upcoming game between Marshall and UCF. So we've got Doc Holliday to do that with us, and you look at some of the recruits that Marshall signed. The local highlights to the class include J.J. Davis out of Bluefield High School, Carrion Martin from Capitol High School, Eli Sammons from Greenup County, Kentucky. So those are the local kids, and of course, we'll learn more about these recruits as the weeks progress. And, once these kids get on campus, they enroll, you actually see them on the field. That's when we can start really diving into these kids, see a little bit more about them. But right now, of course, Marshall's got 15, and they've opened up some more slots. So the transfer portal will be the next battleground, I guess. There'll be a lot of kids looking for landing spots after finding out that, they don't have a spot right now. Plus, the fact that there are probably some kids that thought they were going to be someplace and didn't end up there, or there's some schools that thought they were going to land some kids and didn't end up there. So more spots will open up for the Thundering Herd, and we'll talk about that as it happens. But busy day today. We're going to talk about Doc Holliday and football later on. We're also, in a few minutes, going to talk soccer. Now, Kevin Long stepped down not that long ago, the women's head coach, so Marshall's been on the lookout for a new women's soccer coach, and they have found their candidate today, and they announced the hiring of Michael Swan. He is the new head coach of the Thundering Herd women's soccer team. Swan most recently spent 5 seasons as an assistant head coach at Charlotte. Before that, he served as the head coach at Catawba, and he's going to be on the program with us about 5:15, so we'll hear from him and get his thoughts on the program, where he thinks he can take this squad. Of course, Charlotte's been a pretty good women's soccer team, so you're excited about that. You have to be, because the men's soccer team shows you that you can play at a high level. You can play NCAA tournament soccer at Marshall, and the women's side now has an opportunity with a new coach to try to maybe match that and take the program further than it's been. You got a great facility. That's the thing. You build these facilities, it's an advantage for you because now you're competitive. At the same time, though, you build these facilities and you expect success. You want success. It's not always going to happen. You're not always going to win the championship. You're not always going to win every single game. But at the same time, you have less and less of an excuse to why you can be competitive at Marshall. I will say that time and time again. You see that with softball. You've got facilities now that are quality. Football, you've got an indoor practice facility. That doesn't just benefit Marshall as far as the football team. It benefits majority of the student athletes. You've got more investment in basketball. And I know soccer, you're sitting there hoping that the seasons would have fared better for Kevin Long. It didn't happen the way you would have liked it to have been. So no pressure here, but you bring in a new coach, and you hope that the new coach can bring you some success the way that Chris Grassi has been able to bring success to the Marshall men's soccer program. So he joins us here in a few minutes. We'll talk to him. Looking forward to talking to him about his last name, spelled wrong, by the way. Spells his name with one N. Of course, the correct spelling of Swan is 2 N's, and we will have words about that here coming up on the program. And, of course, as I mentioned, Doc Holliday. And we got your phone calls in as well. So we're looking forward to all of that. We've got basketball tomorrow. Thundering Herd taking on EKU. Another team out of the OVC. Marshall successful against Morehead State. I'm hoping for more of the same, but we'll find out as the Thundering Herd will play tomorrow. And then they will play on Sunday. And then Marshall men's team on football will play on Monday. So we got a full few days of herd football and basketball, and then we got the holidays. We got Christmas. I know you're excited for that. Gabriel Sellard's waiting to see what arrives under his Christmas tree. Will you be sitting out there cookies and milk for Santa Claus on Christmas Eve, Gabriel? You can just nod. You don't know? You still believe in Santa Claus? Your question, you don't know. Just for the sake of argument, we all believe here in Santa Claus here. Santa Claus is real, and we're not going to tell you otherwise. He is real. It feels like Christmas has come early. It really does, because we got the bowl coming up here in the next few days, and I saw an early weather report. One of the major media pundits and I were speaking today, and he was telling me that the weather report is rain in Tampa. I haven't actually looked this up for myself, but I'm like, come on. It's going to be warm. It'll be a warm rain. What would you rather have, a cold rain or a warm rain? I'll take a warm rain any day on the beach. A warm rain on the beach, sitting out looking. I don't think that's going to be a bad, terrible thing. It's going to be cold up here. I haven't even looked ahead. I just know it's going to be cold. I'm looking outside the window now, and it's just blah. I think that's been part of this. I've felt in a funk these last few days, and I think it's because it's just gray skies right now. I'm looking outside. It's gray. It's overcast. It's just blah. So we're going to try to brighten things up for you. When we come back from break, we're going to talk soccer. That's right. We're going to talk about the women's soccer program. We've got the new coach coming on the program. His name is Michael Swan, and again, he spells that wrong, but we're going to overlook that when we talk to him next. Also, we'll hear from Doc Holliday later on when we continue with today's edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
We're taking Paul Swann everywhere. Download or subscribe to The Drive with Paul Swann on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back to the Wednesday edition of The Drive here on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. Now, I'm excited for this next interview because I've never interviewed anyone with the same last name, and so we're just going to see how this goes. I want to welcome to the program now the new head coach of the Marshall University women's soccer team, Michael Swan. And, Coach, thanks for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you so much, Paul. Thank you.
I've never interviewed anyone with the last name Swan, so it might be strange for both of us. We'll see how this goes. And when I got the press release, the first thing I emailed the sports information department and said, "Hey, you guys are spelling his last name wrong. Since I got the two N's, you got the one." But congratulations! This is an exciting time for the soccer program. The men have been so successful, and now you're here to hopefully bring that success on the women's side.
Yeah, small world that we've both got the same last name, and funny enough, Chris is from the same hometown as me in England, so Newcastle. So I'm very excited to get up to Huntington and start get a hold of the program and really take it forward. What
was the selling point for you when you found out this position was available? Did you seek it out? Were you sought out? How to go down?
Yeah, so obviously Charlotte has played in Conference USA alongside Marshall for many years, and every time I come up to the city, I feel a connection there with how the community just treats the university, and the university treats the city. I just feel it's one big entity, and you can really feel the energy there. So when I came up to campus a few weeks ago, I left so excited and so enthused about just being part of the community, and really, fell in love with the campus, the people, and the city. My wife came with me, and it was just an instant drive back to Charlotte, 5 hours of just smiling and looking forward to the new opportunity.
That's saying something, because Charlotte's a quality program in Conference USA, beautiful area, facilities are nice, so that's really saying something about what Marshall has for someone to leave a position like Charlotte to take over as the head coach of Marshall. And facility-wise, though, I'm sure you were smiling, top to bottom, head to toe when you saw the facilities.
Oh yeah, it's a world-class facility. facility. I mean, talking with some of the folks in the administration and what they're trying to do there in the athletic department, it's a commitment that they've made to their programs, and you could see it, and I could see it straight away, the investment that they've made, and the student athletes are benefiting from that, and it's something that I want to continue to do. So yeah, Charlotte's got some great things, but just as much Marshall have got better in a lot of aspects as well. So I'm delighted to get up there and just be part of it and keep building.
Now, your background recently is at Charlotte, but you have been, I don't want to say everywhere, but it feels like it. We were at Catawba for several years. You were in Bristol, Tennessee for several years. You're at Virginia Intermont for several years, and you've done it all. You haven't just been the head coach of the soccer team. You've actually run the soccer program as well, so you've got a lot of experience, and you've got a lot of miles on the road.
Yeah, I've got a lot of miles on the road in some senses, but a lot of it is around the Appalachian area. My wife's family is from Southwest Virginia, West Virginia, Bluefield, and we've always had a massive tie to the area. So it's been a stepping stone every move that I've made, and I feel like I've made my last big step. And now taking over at Marshall, it's going to be a great experience, and it's one that I want to keep for quite a long time. I'm committed to it, and I can't wait to get started and just keep working up there.
Now, as I mentioned, Marshall has, as of late, started to find a lot of success on the men's side of soccer and the women's side as well. What's the challenge? I guess that's what I'm asking is, what's the challenge in building a women's soccer program? Is it similar to the journey on the men's side? Does it have its own difficulties?
I think the biggest thing when you're trying to build a program to success, you have to build it obviously through recruiting, and recruiting takes a lot of time. It's going to be a long process with recruiting and bringing in student athletes who've got the same goals and visions that we have as coaches. But the other side of it is creating a culture that just breeds success in everything that they do. You want to make sure that the academics are taken care of, that they're good servants in the community, they're connecting with everybody in the university and in the community. And that breeds a lot of the success that we look to build in a program. So even though we may not be winning straight away on the field, the culture will basically take care of that over time. The brand of soccer that we're going to play is going to be attractive. It's something that we've prided ourselves here at Charlotte, but I've prided myself on it, throughout my career. And I've had a lot of text messages from former players already since the press release, just happy and, looking forward to seeing Marshall play a good brand of soccer. So.
You mentioned you've got a lot of familiarity with Appalachia. You've, of course, been at Charlotte, and I'm sure that means you've been hitting some of the same recruiting grounds there that you will now. What's the challenge? And I'm sure you want to recruit the state as well, but what's the challenge there in trying to find that talent? Is there a depth of talent that maybe we haven't seen yet, or are you going to have to go abroad? What's the philosophy there?
Yeah, and I think that's the difference in the men's game in college and the women's game in college. The most popular country in the world for soccer is here in the US, and then second, you just look at our neighbours up north in Canada. That they've got a great youth soccer program as well. Whereas internationally on the men's side, every single country has developed soccer. The rest of the world is developing on the women's side, but the majority of the students that we would look at and the recruits that we're going to look at are going to be US-based players. And I think it's one of those things that I want my coaching staff to do is turn over every rock that we can in order to bring the right players in to help us succeed. We're going to hit the ground running day one and get to see as many players as we can. The commitment will be to see the players that are coming in and strike up a relationship with them already. But after that, we've got to plan for the future. So that's probably the biggest challenge, is to make sure that we're identifying the right players who are going to fit our philosophy and what Marshall has to offer. So it's a challenge recruiting, but the harder you work, the better you get.
Michael Swan is with us. He is the new women's soccer coach at Marshall University, and it's been pretty successful to watch. I mean, it's been pretty helpful, the success of the Marshall men's team on top of the women's national team and their great success. So really, I mean, I don't want to put any pressure on you, but this is going to be easy, right? With everything that's in place, no problem here.
It's everything's a challenge. There's always a challenge that's right in front of you. I've got no doubt that we will turn the corner and get success up at Marshall pretty soon. I don't think it'll be the quick turnaround that maybe some people might be thinking of, but I think certainly we're going to make major improvements. I think it's going to be a bright future for the young ladies. Everywhere I've went, I've made sure that we've been competitive and we've made ourselves into a conference tournament or a national tournament, and I want to do that at Marshall. That's probably going to be the biggest priority that we say to the young ladies when we walk through the door is we want to be there. We want to be in the mix. We want to be winning things, and it doesn't breed success overnight, but over time it will.
Joining us on the program, the new head coach of Marshall Women's Soccer, Michael Swan. And as we mentioned, you've been around the block a few times. You've been at several places. You were also NAIA Region Coach of the Year in 2007, 2008. You've won conference championships. As you come in, do you see this Marshall program as one that's going to be a major overhaul as far as rebuilding or building that culture? What's your early impressions of what you've got and what do you got to do?
Yeah, it's when you come into a new program, it's obviously something you want to do is to really give everybody a really fair shot, and that's our goal. That's something that we talk on in the interview process. Is we're going to make sure that everybody's given a fair chance, and we're going to honour everything that's in place. We've played Marshall now in the last 4 years, 5 years, 4 times, and it is always a challenge to play the young ladies, and that was a big draw for me. Is I know a lot of the players that are here already. I've been able to scout them for the last 5 years, so I've got a lot of their tendencies, and I know how they are as a program and how they play. There is talent in our locker room, and there's quite a bit of it. Talking with some of the soccer folk in West Virginia and some of the soccer folk on campus, we know there's talent there. We've got to unlock that. So if we can unlock that, we've got a bright future.
That's a good point. Also helps that you're familiar with Marshall. You're also familiar with Conference USA, and I think more and more fans are realizing that Conference USA is one of the best soccer conferences in America. It is probably on par. Yeah. You would call it a Power 5 conference if we're using that terminology.
Yeah, right now I think the conference ranking is around 10 in the country, and I think there's over the 20 conferences that are playing for a place in the national tournament. So Conference USA is really growing. It's growing quick. We've got some fantastic programs. In our league, FAU, who was the highlight this year, finished with an RPI of 32. North Texas went to the national tournament. Rice University, obviously Charlotte made a push for it, but not just the top. It's all through the league. There is competition, and you are fighting every single game to win a game and get into the conference tournament. So any team can win it on any given year. Just to give you an example, we won the conference here at Charlotte as the 6th seed, and we made it to the final as the 8th seed the following year in 2017. So you've got to sustain things consistently in order to be successful. But at the same time, if you have one loss, it might be the difference from 1 to 4, but you've still got a chance to win it, and that's going to be the goal that we're going to have.
Joining us on the program, the new head coach of Marshall Women's Soccer, Michael Swan. And you mentioned earlier you've been getting a lot of texts, a lot of messages, and a lot of people are excited for you. How far is that? Love reaching? I mean, we're talking your native land. We're talking. Yeah, how far are we talking here?
I actually got a message from a former player who was in Colombia. on Facebook. He reached out. Well, it's a former colleague. He was finishing up his career at Flagler, and it's gone to Colombia. My parents have obviously been reaching out today. All over the world. I mean, the game of soccer is worldwide. So when you come and play in the US, you get friends all over the world. So the best messages I truly get are from my former players who are just happy to, see me take on this opportunity. It's quite an honor.
Does that mean we're going to see some of those former players as far as you got to put the staff together, and are you going to be cherry picking from the best of them? How's that going to look?
I hope so. I know that we've got a wonderful assistant coach in place right now, Erica Duncan, who's an alumni. She's a record setter at Marshall, and she's definitely going to be part of things. And then going from there, it's we've got to be selective of who we want to bring in and what the needs are for the program, and we're going to work through that in the next month or so.
Was that important to have some sort of foundation in place when you came in and you accepted the job?
Yes, absolutely. Just to have an assistant or even just a coach in general, just to be there with you, who understands Marshall, understands the traditions. I've done a lot of research on it, but she is firsthand. We're being in the university and got her degree and has been part of the soccer program for years. So she is going to guide me through some, the next couple of months and into the future. We've already had some fantastic conversations, regarding things like the young ladies, the players who are going to be coming back, and what our needs are recruiting. So she's out of the country right now in Scotland, but she is working hard. She's very excited about what we can do.
And speaking of that, you mentioned you and Coach Grassi, same hometown, right? Newcastle, England is your hometown, and you're a graduate of Gateshead College. And did you two go to school together as well, or how well do you know him?
So just talking with Chris, we there's a slight age difference, and I think Chris moved out of the country when he was 16. But we've played in the same areas. We've played for one or two of the same coaches. We're very familiar with one another. We both support Newcastle United, which is a very good connection. But Chris knows some of the folks that I know, and I know a lot of the folks that he knows. And really, we didn't play against each other. But when you talk to anybody who's from Newcastle, we all know somebody. It's very, very similar to Huntingdon. Almost everybody wears the black and white colours of Newcastle United, whereas everyone at Marshall or Huntingdon wears the colours of Marshall. So very, very familiar with that side of things.
Okay, so you're a Newcastle United fan, right?
Yeah. Don't rub it in.
I mean, I don't understand. I mean, I do understand, but you've got Swansea City right there. I mean, if I was going to pick a team, I'm picking that alone. I would think you would as well, just based on name.
Well, I could. That would be something that they're a little bit far away from where Newcastle is in Swansea. We paint ourselves on supporting Newcastle United, and it's our boyhood club. It's the culture. It's the community. It's something. If I walked around Newcastle with a Swansea City shirt on, I don't think it would matter if they knew that my last name was Swan. They'd probably still, have some funny looks at me. So, I've got to stick with my Newcastle United, even though you can support them, Paul. Swansea City, that can be your team, but Newcastle is my team and always will be.
Okay, so are you advising me not to support Swansea City? I mean, help me out here. I don't have a team, so you might have to.
Okay.
You might have to turn me on to Newcastle United.
Right. Or you can support Liverpool, who are winning everything right now, and you can walk around bragging about how good Liverpool are. But Swansea's a good shout. They're a very good club with good traditions. I should really sway you towards Newcastle United because they're probably the most similar to what Marshall are and the Thunder and Herd. I think our fans are known as the Toon Army. So hopefully we can persuade you to support Newcastle and Swansea or Liverpool.
I can do both. I'm not doing Liverpool, though. I know too many. Yeah, come on. I'm not a front runner. I know a few people who are Liverpool fans.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a front runner like that, no.
then I think you should support Newcastle. I think me and Chris will have to make sure that we'll bring you a jersey, and you can wear it on the show proudly.
Okay, you know what? If I get some Newcastle swag, I will wear it. Scarf, everything.
Okay.
I'll do it. I will do that. That'll be my team.
Brilliant.
Just, you know what? Just because I can give the boss grief when Newcastle plays Liverpool or Manchester, whatever team he likes. It's the good one, whatever the front runner one is. He's the big fan of. Well, Coach, congratulations on the job, and we're looking forward to seeing what you can do with this program. We're excited for you and your family, and can't wait to get you back on closer to the season or when fun things happen for you. Can't wait to look forward to seeing what happens.
Thank you so much, Paul, and can't wait to get up to Huntington and get started.
Well, be careful when you do get up here because the weather's nasty right now. I don't know what the travel log looks like for you, but it's not pretty right now weather-wise. So you guys be careful when you come up.
Thank you, and hope everyone has a Merry Christmas.
Thank you, sir. You too. That is Michael Swan. He is the new head coach of the Marshall University women's soccer team. I guess I'm a Newcastle United fan now. I'm not a front runner though. I don't take the front runner team. Gabriel, do you have a club team? If you got to think about it, you don't. So don't even bother. Doc Holliday on the way when we continue with today's edition of The Drive, ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
This is The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. Presented by Huntington Federal Savings Bank.
The Marshall Thundering Herd pick up 15 early signees for the 2020 football recruiting class. Doc Holliday spoke about it earlier. Welcome back to today's edition of The Drive here on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. And Doc, well, he held some spots back, he mentioned. He also talked a little bit about the recruiting portal, and these are some of the highlights that are from earlier this afternoon. Here's Doc Holliday's highlights from his press conference.
We're excited about the 15 guys we signed in this class. 8 of those 15 will be here in January, which is exciting. So felt like we met the needs that we needed to meet. Like I said, thing that's changed a little bit with recruiting. If you remember a year ago, even a couple years ago, you want to hold some guys, you want to hold some spots. It's hard to believe, but I think it was either last week or the week before, there was 273 players went in that portal. And so you got that aspect that you're dealing with. You've got, there's going to be a whole new group of players that open up after this signing day. For example, Nige McDaniel was a kid that became available after signing date. Talik Keaton was a kid that came available after signing date. So there's a lot of guys that whole new group of pool of players that come open and say, "What you sure don't want to sign an entire class," and then be sitting there with all that portal stuff going on and all the extra players that come out there that without being able to take some kids. So we like where we are, and we'll just keep going forward. Well, no question. Of course, we have Beckett coming back, and hopefully Yulia at some point. But we had to get some older guys in that class, and I like our young guys, but they are young guys, and so. But Eli Neal and a couple of those guys, Corey Anderson, got their feet wet this year, and they'll be fine moving forward. But you just want to get some older guys there, and also losing Chris and Carry on at the corner position. You want to get a couple older guys there. I like Gilmore a lot, I like Sapp a lot, and a lot of guys are on campus. But same situation as linebackers. You want to get that thing shored up. Offensively, with the exception of Monty and Levi, they're all back. So we got some older guys there, and I like our guys up front defensively that we got coming back, and in secondary and with safeties and that type of thing. So. There were certain spots that we wanted to get a little older guys there. I thought we accomplished that, and even we got, having the young guys. You guys have all seen the difference it makes getting those kids here in January. You got a lot, even 8 of those guys, some of them even young kids, that'll be there in January. Just a whole winter and a whole spring will make a big difference for those guys and give them the opportunity to help play. So we like where we are there, and then again moving forward, we've got some flexibility with the number that we held back. That we can make some moves on some things going forward. I think can help us. I think there's a lot to that. I think there is a lot to that, going best available, and try to get shored up with the number of kids that you want there. But I just think there's just so many. Like I say, there's you got a lot of kids that thought they were signing today with Georgia and Florida State and Alabama and all those people, and they looked up and there wasn't an NLI there. So there's a lot of kids out there. Like I say, we getting calls all day. There's a whole group of players out there that now become available. Where you start the whole recruiting process over again, for signing date in February. So, and again, the portal thing, and I think we learned a lot about that portal a year ago, with the way that thing's going to work. But there's just so many, And the thing about that portal right now is all these kids, they look at that college football playoff. You got 4 quarterbacks starting in that portal in those games that are all transfers. Fields and Burrow at LSU, and they all think that's a really, really great thing, but they don't see the other 90% that doesn't work out for. And so you got a lot of kids in that portal, and it really hurts it, to be honest with you. I mean, these kids see those 3 players that things have really worked out extremely well for, but you don't read anything about the 90% that go in that portal that doesn't work out for them. And so you got to be really careful with with that portal deal and what you're dealing with, and I think kids have got to be really careful too with what they're the guys that go in it, because it doesn't always work out like you see with the 3 kids that are playing in the BCF playoffs. So there's a lot to learn from that thing. We learned a lot about it as a staff last year, and we'll do a better job of taking kids and evaluating kids from that portal moving forward. Yeah, the sad thing is, Keith, they all give up scholarships. As soon as those kids go in that portal, they give up their scholarship. So you got kids, you imagine 273 guys in 1 week that go in that portal a couple weeks ago or whatever. 200 of those guys may give up scholarships and never get another one. Because they all think they're going to get them, and they all think they're going to get waivers, and they all think all this is going to magically work out for them. And just so many kids getting hurt because of it. But like I said, you don't read about any of that. The only thing you read about and see is the press that these guys that really worked out well for. And so these kids, they get a false impression of what's out there and what it all means. So, I think the data, right now the data and statistics, the kids don't have that to make great decisions, but hopefully down the road the NCAA will get that out there so kids can make intelligent decisions on what you're going to do. I think number one's the kind of kids you recruit, and like I said, we haven't had many. I think Coastal Carolina have had 12. I think Connecticut had 15 to 16 or something. And the problem you get into is when you lose 15 to 16 kids, as some of them have done, and you got Stanford. You think all those kids going to Stanford want to be there because of academics, but they got 12 to 15 in the portal. So the issue you get into there is you're only allowed 25 to get to 85. So you lose 15, and all of a sudden you lose 15 seniors. You can never get back to 85 some of these programs. So it's really affected a lot of people in a lot of different ways, and it's not all good. Like I say, what you see in that college football playoff, they're going to talk about how great it is, but I think it's doing more damage to a lot of people in a lot of schools than what's out there. So we'll see where it goes.
That's Doc Holliday talking about today's early signees and how it impacts his team. When we come back from break, we're going to talk more about the game between Marshall and UCF when we continue on today's edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
The Drive with Paul Swann. Marshall Athletic Director Mike Hamrick. He knows.
Paul's the best.
On ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Your Tuesday edition of The Drive continues here. Your Wednesday edition. So close. So close. That's okay. We got more Doc Holliday for you on your Wednesday edition. Doc talking a little bit about the game between Marshall and Central Florida. Here are the highlights from earlier this afternoon.
Of course, Central Florida, what a great opponent they are. Our captains will be Amari Cobb. These are captains, you probably heard me talk about during the year. We have different captains every week based on their performance and leadership and all that. The players actually vote on the permanent captains at the end of the year. So Amari Cobb, Marquise Couch, and Channing Hames on defense. And we had Brendan Knox and Levi Brown on offense. Those were the same guys that finished up with the FIU game, and players voted the same guys. So those guys will be counted on to provide a lot of leadership down there and get ready to go. As you all know, Central Florida is an excellent opponent. They got skill all over the place. They went to 2 of the Access Bowls the last 2 years, beat Auburn, and played LSU with a freshman quarterback and played them right to the wire. So it'll be a great challenge for us. And I know as coaches we're looking forward to it. Our players are, and we've had up to this point we've had great preparation. It's going to have to continue, not only here today and tomorrow morning, but also when we get down there. So looking forward to playing them. I tell them all the time. I said, guys, you got your whole life screwed around. I said, you got an opportunity to go down there and create a memory of a lifetime. That's winning the game. And anybody's been in that locker room after a bowl game win, it is a special feeling. And, I've been in a lot of bowls, almost 30, whatever it's been, and the ones I remember are the ones we won, so we've been fortunate to have kids that, like football, they like to play the game, and they understand you go down there, and we want them to have fun. I mean, it's a reward, to go down and have some fun, but they understand you're there for one reason, that's to find a way to win that game. And, 6 times we've had the opportunity to do that, and hopefully we can make it number 7. But these kids, you just pound, and you need good, you need great leadership, and you need kids to, especially the older, hold the younger kids accountable and all those things, and I think we've got that. Well, I think anytime you play a team like that, number one, you got to take care of the ball. You can't give them extra possessions, and the other thing is offensively, you hit it. I mean, you got to convert on 3rd down. We got to stay on the field on 3rd down, and defensively, we've got to find a way to get them off the field on 3rd down. So I think 3rd downs are going to be a key to this game, both offense and defensively, of converting for us and getting them off the field on 3rd down and then taking care of the football offensively. We can't give them an extra possession. And then the kicking game is going to be critical, because you got to give them long fields. You got to change the field position with the punt, and you've got to be able to kick off and cover kicks, and with the return game as well. So, field position will be a big thing against these guys. I mean, they got really good players. I mean, they're one of the top, group of 5 teams, and they've been a top 15 team the last 2 years, at the end of the day. So, I mean, that's what they look like. They look like I heard, I think Lane Kiffin said after FAU played them this year, they look like an SEC team, and they do. They got those kind of players. And, you got some coach here sitting blowing smoke. I mean, go watch the tape. I mean, that's the reason they've won, 30-plus games or whatever it's been the last 3 years, because they got really good players, and they're well coached. Randy does a great job with their defense. And of course, they're well coached offensively, and so they'll be a handful for us. But you know what? Our kids like challenges. We like that. So we're looking forward to going down and playing an excellent opponent and give it our best shot and see what happens. Oh, they're fast. I mean, you look up at times, and we're watching tape, and Brad and I and all of us, and they're snapping the ball with 35 seconds on the play clock. I don't know how the hell you do that, but I mean, there's only 40 seconds to begin with. So, I mean, they play really fast, and so they get, with 35 to 40 seconds. So you got to get lined up, and and again, that's great. All that tempo is great, but you got to be able to convert. And the thing we got to do is we got to find a way to get off the field on 3rd downs, but they do a great job with tempo, and they do go fast. They run a lot of plays. Well, we've done that. I mean, we started the first day of practice, and so you take we have a looks period every day that we take where our second offense goes against their defense, which I guess good on good as well as we can, running their stuff, and it's been all tempo from day one. Going as fast as we can possibly go, and getting lined up and going again. So we've done that not just against these guys. I mean, we've had other teams this year that we've had to prepare for that. So it's you got to get the stuff, you got to get them in, you got to get lined up, and you got to go play. When you get the opportunity to substitute, you got to be able to get kids in the game. So we got to do a good job with that. If they go out of bounds on their sideline, that's like a substitution. So you got to be aware of what's going on with that. And as soon as they go out on their sideline, they got to run people in. So we've done that before. We've done it all year. So I don't see that being a problem. Our kids are in great shape, and we just got to find a way to get we got to find a way to get them stopped on 3rd down, so we're not out there 10, 12, 14 play drives, and we can get guys in and out. And their tailbacks will line up everywhere. I mean, they got really talented tailbacks, so they'll line them up at wide out, and as you mentioned, and play a lot of empty stuff. And they play like 5 of them. I mean, they got 5 different backs that they play. So, our guys, and we get numbers in practice and that type of thing. So those are all things that we work on and prepare for, and our guys will have to do a good job identifying, find out where they are, and they're all skilled. I mean, the wideouts are like running backs, so it'll be a challenge for us to get that done.
That's Doc Holliday from earlier this afternoon as the Herd getting set for UCF. Herd will be traveling tomorrow morning to head down to the destination, get settled in, and do all the fun things that they require you to do during the bowl week and get ready for Monday's contest. We'll have that for you right here on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. Also on our sister station, 93-7 the Dog. Don't forget, we got Marshall basketball coming up tomorrow. Thundering Herd taking on EKU. That means we'll be on the air at 5:30. We'll be on the air 30 minutes after you normally expect to hear us, and we'll have a preview of that matchup and take a look at what's happening in college basketball. And we'll hear from Tampa. Bill Cornwell will be joining us live from the site of the Gasparilla Bowl. For our producer, Gabriel Sellers, we appreciate him. Special thanks to the new head soccer coach of the Marshall women's team, Michael Swan. I'm Paul Swann. I spell my name differently than Michael, but that's okay. I spell it correctly. We'll teach you. That's going to do it for this edition of The Drive here on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
WRBC Huntington, W227BS Huntington, your flagship home of the Marshall Thundering Herd and The Drive with Paul Swann, ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.